Welcome, everyone. Wow, this is incredible. What a way to start 2021. We've had over 170 women register for this event. And not only is that women right across Canada, but my understanding is this is probably the largest event that Vancouver Island Advocis has ever had. So congratulations and again, welcome. I'm your host, Christie Coltman, the president of Vancouver Island Advocis. Advocis is the largest voluntary professional association of financial advisors in Canada. Advocis offers designations, CE opportunities, and membership in a chapter network with incredible mentorship programs, study groups, and practice development workshops. And today is one of those days that we are offering an incredible workshop. Before I get going, I just want to say that in 2020, Vancouver Island Advocis initiated a food bank drive for all food banks across BC. And thanks to members and non-members who attended our events, we raised $8,900 for food banks of BC. In 2021, Vancouver Island Advocis is supporting the Women's Transition House. The Transition House, working collaboratively, provides quality shelter, support, counseling, and education to women and children so that they can live free from the effects of abuse. If you would like to support the Women's Transition House by way of a donation today, we are posting the link in the chat box. And once you hit the link, you just go to the drop-down menu and pick number 3, Vancouver Island Advocis. A couple of housekeeping notes. If you are enjoying the presentations today, please post it to your social media and use the hashtags ThrivingWomen 2021 and AdvocisWomen 2021. And we've also posted those hashtags in the chat box. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for this event. We couldn't put on this type of event without their support. So please help me in thanking Sun Life, Franklin Templeton, Lone Rangers Financial Corporation, Bewley and Coltman Financial Services, Felicity Design and Decor, IDC World Source, Prosperity Planning, BMO Insurance, Manulife Investment Management, Marketing Wealth, and Equitable Life. Thank you. So in preparing for this day, I did a bit of a deep dive into the internet just to come up with a few facts about women. Women as leaders, women running their own practice, and business women, as well as women in the pandemic of 2020. And here are a few of the things that I found. Academic studies show that women are more likely to lead through inspiration, transforming people's attitudes and beliefs and aligning people with meaning and purpose. Women do not command, they empathize, and this establishes an emotional connection, and emotions are why we avoid automation. Women focus on elevating each other. They coach, they mentor. Women are less transactional and more strategic. And finally, the pandemic of 2020 has been called the women's pandemic. More women have died. More women initially experienced more job losses, and women shouldered a disproportionate amount of unpaid care. So do any of those statements resonate with you? As women, I believe we share several common threads, and yet we're all so unique, and that is something to celebrate. Oh, and I found one more quote that I thought was fitting for our event today. And that quote is from Madeleine Albright, the former and first female United States Secretary of State. So please excuse my language, but I did want to quote this exactly. She says, "There's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other." So we have 3 incredible women joining us today who will help us. We're going to learn a bit about Lianna and Sybil's life experiences, and I believe we'll be able to apply them to apply their experiences to our own lives. We've got a great workshop in between Lianna and Sybil, in which Pamela is going to introduce tools that can help each of us take the vision of our own lives to new levels. And finally, we have a 4-woman panel of sponsors to close our event, who are all leaders in their respective positions and companies. If you do have questions for our presenters, please post them in the chat box. Each of our speakers has left enough time at the end of their presentations for questions. And if we can't get to all of them, we will take them away and ensure that we get answers to those questions to all of our attendees. So I hope everyone's ready, because here we go. I'm going to start by introducing Lianna Mah. Lianna is Vice President, Business Development, and a member of the Board of Directors for the Associated Engineering Group of Companies, a Canadian consulting firm with over 1,000 people in 21 offices across Canada. Lianna is the immediate past president of Engineers and Geoscientists BC and is a founding member of Engineers and Geoscientists BC's Women in Engineering and Geoscience Division. She also serves on committees for the Canadian Coalition of Women in Engineering, Science and Technology. Engineering is a male-dominated industry. Less than 15% of engineers are women. Welcome, Lianna.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks for having me, and thank you, Karen, for inviting me as well. I'm going to just start today by just acknowledging the lands that we're on today. I'm joining you from my home in Burnaby, so I'd like to acknowledge the ancestral and unceded homelands of the Ho'okomilam and Squamish-speaking peoples. As we have people joining us from across Canada, I'd also like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. And in Canada, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of the First Nations, the Métis, and the Inuit people. As Christy mentioned, I am an engineer, and many of you may think, why is an engineer speaking at our webinar today? Well, women in engineering and women in finance share many similarities, as Christy alluded to. But in addition to working in a male-dominated industry, we all share a very challenging academic path to get where we are today. We're all working in a very high-stress, fast-paced environment. And we all balance the challenges of working, of balancing our work lives and our personal lives. For me in particular, I feel connected to women in finance because my daughter is a woman in finance, and I'm really pleased that she's joining us today as well in this webinar. So today, over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to share some of my experiences and career highlights and some defining moments in my career that span more than 30 years. I'm going to share some of the ups and downs of working the last 10 months through this global pandemic. And then I'll close with some tips and strategies for success. And hopefully at the end of this, we'll have some time for a few questions. So to start with and set the stage, I'll share a bit about the environment that I came into when I started my career 30 plus years ago. I was born and raised in Vancouver, and I was good at math and sciences. So I decided upon entering university at UBC that I'd go into engineering. And I graduated in the mid-1980s with a degree in civil engineering. At the time, there was only about 10% women in my class of civil engineering. And when I got out into the workforce, there was only 2% of women practicing in the professions. When I graduated, there wasn't a lot of opportunities in Vancouver. We were in the middle of a recession in BC. So I moved to Ontario and started looking for work. I was the first female engineer hired at my first job with a consulting firm called Dillon in London, Ontario. Here I'm sitting with my boss, and I work closely with him. And after a few weeks working together, I got up the courage to ask Bill why he hired me, what stood out about my resume. And he said to me, he said he'd never seen a woman engineer before, and he wanted to see what I looked like. So luckily he saw something he liked because he hired me. And it was a great position. I had some great opportunities. I worked on water and wastewater treatment projects. I worked on municipal projects. I worked on industrial projects for Shell Canada. I worked on a project for Molson Brewery in Montreal. Over my time with Bill and I surveyed projects in minus 40-degree weather in Northern Ontario, and I sorted garbage in plus 40-degree temperatures in the British Virgin Islands. The work was really interesting, it was really challenging, but oftentimes I wasn't really sure what I was doing. At the time, I was shy, I was timid, and I was really afraid to ask too many questions. What I didn't know at the time was that my bosses, they didn't expect me to know everything. They expected me to do research, to learn, to figure things out, and to ask questions if I was stuck. So today I tell young professionals in our company, don't be afraid to ask questions. There are no questions that are too dumb. So after 3 winters in London, Ontario, I decided I'd had enough of the cold weather of walking to work in minus 40-degree with wind chills, and I decided to move back and look for work in Vancouver. I found a job with Associated Engineering, a Canadian consulting firm. And I chose Associated because it's an employee-owned company. And that was important to me because I wanted to be part of a company where I had a part of the ownership. And for me, over the 30 plus years I've been with Associated, ownership has been rewarding, not only from a career standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. One of my first projects when I started with the company was the design of 2 wastewater treatment plants in the Vancouver area. And one is the largest plant here. It's the Advocis plant that serves about 1 million people in the lower mainland of BC. So my company was in joint venture with 2 other firms, and our role was to do the civil engineering work, which basically means designing the pipes underground and designing the roads on the surface. For me, as a wastewater treatment and process engineer, this was disappointing because I wanted to work on the treatment aspects rather than just the piping and the roads aspects. So when the project started, I asked my supervisor if we could have a role in doing the treatment and process engineering. And he told me the roles on the project were defined, but if I felt strongly about it, I should speak to our manager. And for me, being shy, I was hoping that he would do that. So I built up the nerve to talk to my manager, which was a challenge for me because I was still very shy. But I knew that this was a project of a lifetime, and I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to work on the process engineering and treatment parts of the project. What I found is my manager was very receptive to my question and my suggestion, and he brought the suggestion to the joint venture leadership team, who agreed that my supervisor, myself, and other process and treatment engineers could work on those aspects of the project. This ended up providing me with the opportunity to gain invaluable experience on one of the largest wastewater treatment plants in Canada and one of the largest projects that as a company we've undertaken to date. So it remains, for me, the project of a lifetime. One of the defining moments for me on this project was during construction. I was in a construction team meeting and we were sitting around the table. There was about 15 or 20 people. And like many meetings that I attend, I was the only woman in the meeting. So I came up with an idea, and I don't really recall what the idea was, but I got up the courage, cleared my throat, and made this suggestion. The discussion around the table continued. They didn't hear me. So I cleared my throat again and said, "Excuse me," and made the suggestion again in what I thought was a louder voice. Again, the discussion continued. One of my fellow wastewater treatment engineers heard my suggestion, and he made the suggestion in his much louder, deeper voice. To my surprise, the men around the table said, great idea. And they all congratulated him on the suggestion. To my greater surprise, he didn't accredit me with the suggestion. From that moment on, I promised myself I would speak up for myself, and I would speak louder so that my suggestions and my ideas would be heard, and I'd get credit for my ideas, whether they be good ideas or maybe not so good ideas. At the end of the Advocis project, my general manager came to see me about taking on a management position to lead the administrative team as well as the marketing and proposal team. This wasn't a position that I was seeking. I wanted to continue to expand my technical role and to seek a management position in a technical role. Also, I'd only ever written 2 proposals before, so I didn't have a lot of experience in proposal writing. However, I thought this was a great opportunity to participate on the management team, so I said yes to the role. I then went ahead and learned how to be a good proposal writer. I took courses in marketing and sales, and I leveraged that knowledge to help our team develop better strategies, for proposals and to write more winning proposals. Over time, the GMs in the other operations across the company saw our success and asked for my help. As our company grew and the number of our proposals grew, I knew I couldn't be involved in all the major proposals. So I developed and delivered proposal training courses to train our team to be better proposal writers. I also encouraged our GMs to hire proposal specialists like myself. Today, we have proposal specialists in all our major offices, and we have a very successful track record on winning proposals. Looking back, I recognize the importance of taking opportunities as they arise and making the most of them to achieve our career goals. I've had a number of managerial roles over the years, and traveling around the company and working with our general managers in strategic roles on proposals and marketing and communications. I felt like I was providing the leadership that many of our VPs were providing, but without the title, position, or remuneration. I mentioned how challenging it was for me to ask for the work I wanted. It was even more challenging for me to ask for the position I wanted. But I approached my boss, who was the president and the CEO, and I asked for the position of vice president. I gave him examples that demonstrated that I had the skills and qualifications and the strategic thinking to be a VP. He didn't give me the position right away, but a year later, I was promoted to VP. And a few years later, after that, I was asked to become a member of our board of directors. So the lesson learned is it's important to plan your career and then let your boss know your career aspirations and be patient because the opportunities will come. So most importantly for me is my family. So I just like to speak about family for a bit because I think as women, you know, our families, our personal lives are so important to us, and balancing work and life is such an important part of our lives. In the beginning, I tried doing everything myself, and I realized, you know, when people say it takes a village, it truly does take a village to raise a family. In our case, our village was my parents, our extended family, and our neighbors. They've all supported us. They've been our support network to share carpooling when the kids were younger, whether it be taking the kids to school or to after school activities. I knew that we needed help from our family and friends, and I was always mindful to pay them back in kind by returning the favor. The other necessity for me at the time was work-life balance was flexible work hours. When I had Jessica, flexible work options were non-existent. So again, this is something that I had to ask for. And surprisingly, when I asked to work a 4-day work week, I received it. And it was great. I wanted to have the opportunity to be able to walk the kids to school, to watch their school concerts, or to volunteer in the classroom from time to time. I didn't want to miss those moments, and I didn't want to look back and say, I wish I'd done things differently. Today, all staff at Associated Engineering have flexible work hours, even before COVID. And I'm really proud that to be part of that culture shift at the company and to create an environment that is more family friendly. So shifting gears, I'm going to talk a bit about COVID and strategies for thriving through this pandemic. As women, we often find ourselves taking a disproportionate amount of the work at home. And Christie certainly alluded to this in her opening comments. And as mentioned earlier, we find ourselves as professionals in a constant battle balancing work and life. For me, transitioning to working from home during COVID, I thought life would be easier. No more commuting, no more traveling. I used to travel and be away at least twice per month. I thought there'd be fewer distractions, people coming in for impromptu meetings or chit chat. But what I found, and what many of us found, was that working from home, we even work longer hours and longer days. Many people, especially women, were faced with managing the demands of homeschooling their children, of grocery shopping for elderly parents or neighbors, plus additional household chores of keeping everything COVID-free. How many of you have found yourselves sanitizing the whole house with Lysol wipes, sanitizing your car and wiping down groceries and grocery bags? You are already super women, but now you're faced with being more super. So in the next few minutes, I'm just going to share a few strategies that have helped me thrive through this pandemic. When I first transitioned to working from home, I set up my office in my dining room table, mostly because the lighting in that room is great, because we have a great big window in the dining room, and I thought the lighting would be great for video conferencing. Also, I set up a workspace that was very ergonomic for me. Previously, I had back and shoulder issues, so I was aware of the need to get a good chair that supported my back, to raise my monitors so that they were at eye level, to set my keyboard and mouse at the right level. I also got an extra monitor, which was very helpful for working on spreadsheets and multiple documents. And I got headphones so that I didn't get distracted by the noise around the house during meetings, since my husband and son were also working from home. What I didn't anticipate is that the dining room being the center of the house, going to work was way too easy. I was spending way too many hours working, popping back to the computer, to my workspace after dinner and on weekends. So I decided I'd move my workspace to the back of the house, to a room that we had there, to create that physical separation between my workspace and my personal space. And this has really helped to increase the quality of my life, having that physical separation. I've also been more committed to keeping my work hours to 8 to 5, or sometimes 8 to 6 or 7, and not going back to my workspace after the end of the day. In the first few weeks working from home, I found I was moving from video conference to video conference. I was working long hours. I took very few breaks, or sometimes no breaks. And then, as I mentioned, I was working after dinner. So after a month of this, I was burnt out. So I realized the importance of taking breaks, going for a coffee or a snack, making time for a coffee break with colleagues or with family. And then in particular, making time for a stretch or going for a walk. I found this really helped my mental health and reduce my stress. We're all very well aware now that working from home can create isolation, can cause loneliness and stress and anxiety, which can lead to depression. And one thing that's helped me is creating virtual coffee meetings, as well as virtual happy hours on Fridays with colleagues from work, as well as with friends. For my happy hours with colleagues, we found these were a good opportunity to catch up on what's happening around the office. I invited a big group of people to these meetings, as sometimes, not everybody can attend. I've also scheduled regular calls with my team, typically a few times a week, and we always make time to socialize during the meetings and find out what new things we're cooking or what the kids were doing. Making time to take care of ourselves is also so important, not only for our physical health, but also for our mental well-being. As I mentioned, I started taking long walks around the neighborhood, which has helped my mental health as well as my physical health. I also started doing more gardening. Neither my husband or I are much of, we're not really gardeners, but we found it really therapeutic. So we all need to find ways to help our physical health, whether it be walking or running or doing yoga. Finally, don't forget to do things that bring you joy, because having that joy in your life is so important for your mental health. Like everyone else, I leverage video conference to keep in touch with friends and family. And this photo shows my peer group, who have been my peer support through school, through beginning our careers as young professionals. And all these incredible women are now leaders in our profession. And for me, they help support me, and they gave me sanity. For me, family is what brings me the most joy. And so we continue to have Sunday dinners. And at first, it was myself and my husband, because my daughter and my mom live away from, live on their own. But I realized shortly after COVID started that these are important people, and we decided to include my mom and my daughter in our bubble, and that's really brought me a lot of joy. The other thing that brings me a lot of joy is giving back, and I encourage you to give back to your profession, to your community, to your kids' school, to your church or charity, or perhaps you want to find time to mentor someone more junior than yourself. You're never too young to mentor, and giving back and mentoring gives back so much joy to someone else. But I'm sure you'll find, like me, that in giving back, you gain so much more than what you give. To summarize, I just want to share some of my strategies for success. Firstly, understand your value proposition, what makes you different, and leverage what makes you different to find and excel at the job and the position you seek. Then develop your personal brand. Pamela will speak more to this later, but do identify what you want to be known for, and be true and be consistent to yourself. And by this, I mean, be true to your brand, whether it be face-to-face or online. Then establish your career goals and share these goals with your manager and your partner. Don't get too upset if you don't get your position immediately. Be patient and take the time in between to hone your skills and your experience. Develop your leadership style. Understand your corporate vision, your corporate goals and strategies, and then develop your management, your leadership, and your communication style to execute on those visions and goals. Establish a style that works for you, and most importantly, be true to yourself. Finally, you can lead from wherever you are in your career. Your career path may take you to different places, and it may not lead you immediately to the place you want to be. Wherever you are and whatever your position is, you have the opportunity to lead. Don't be afraid to question the norm, to propose a different way to do things. Suggest an improvement or a change. Volunteer, take initiative, offer to take on a job to make those changes. Say yes to an opportunity that that may arise, even if it isn't exactly what you want, or it means doing some extra work in the short run, because the payback will come in the long run. People will notice you, they'll remember you, and this will result in opportunities. Be engaged, get involved, and you can lead from wherever you are. And in doing so, you'll make a difference. So thank you for your time and for listening to my stories. Stay safe and keep well.
Thanks, Lianna. So Lianna and I did this little pre-video, and I just found what a lovely personality you have. I don't want to put engineers in a this is the type of person they are, but I wasn't expecting your personality, and so you can think of that whatever you want. I do actually have a question. So someone is asking, did you find that mentors play a key role in helping you advance in your career, or that self-advocating was more important?
Thanks for asking that question. It's a great question. I think, especially for women, mentors and role models are so important to us. For me, I had a mentor and a role model who really showed me what I could be. I didn't start out my career wanting to be a VP or a director of a company. As a woman, as a Chinese woman, I'm not what VPs and directors of engineering firms look like. But I met a woman when I was still a young professional who was a VP of an engineering firm. And over the years, she's been a role model to me. She's been my mentor. She's pushed me, she's supported me, and she's guided me. And she's the reason I'm here where I am today. So yes, absolutely. Mentors and role models are very important.
Absolutely. I think too, what really resonated with me and probably with a lot of the women on this meeting is that although we are in very different industries, we have had a lot of the same experiences. And so anyway, I just wanted to thank you again for taking time out to be with us today. If anyone has any other questions you think of later, please just send them to our chat box. And as I say, we'll gather any of those questions and then we'll send them back out to all attendees. I'm now going to introduce Pamela Sylvan. Pamela is a personal branding and PR strategist. She's known for her creativity and ability to see and understand her client's mission, and then she breathes life and energy into their projects, vision, and brand story engagement. She is an author, professor of postgraduate public relations, newspaper columnist, magazine editor, and contributor. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you, Christie, for the introduction. Every time I hear it, I forget those things about myself. You know, we're so busy living our lives, we have no clue all the things that we have accomplished in the past. But thank you for having this amazing day to you and your team. And Lianna, thank you so much for your story. And I think we all can take bits and pieces from it. That was your particular journey, but it's very familiar. And I'm sure a lot of people would agree. So thank you for that. Before we begin, I just want to share a realization I had not too long ago. Today, it was 15 months, 3 weeks, and 6 days ago that I lost my best friend. During the time that had all happened, something became quite clear to me. And the thing that became incredibly clear to me as I saw her breathing her last breath, she fell on top of me in the hospital. And as I saw her gradually leave until it was all over, and I looked at this person who was my best friend and also my mother, the person that knew me the best and the longest, it came to me that I too one day will pass this way. And a fire was lit underneath me in such a way that you would not believe, because no matter what plans we have, no matter what our aspirations, no matter what we're doing, no matter how far we've gone in our life, no one is getting out of this alive. And I don't mean to bring this into a downer. This is about understanding the course in which we're walking. Every day is one day less we have to play on this playing field, okay? But the thing here for most people is that they're living their lives as if they have all the time in the world. And we don't. Every day is one day less. And as I remember this woman that was my mother and knew me the best and the longest to this date, I thought to myself, you know what? Not one day will pass by that I too don't live my life to the fullest. So I'm thinking that's why you're here today in Thriving Women 2021, is to pick up some information, little bits and pieces of information that you might have heard it before, and you might be hearing it again for a second or third time, or it might be brand new to you. However you come by it, it's another little poke at you as a reminder that time is of the essence. Okay, so I love Lianna's story about how she took her time and she created something beautiful out of it. And now she's going to watch her children do the exact same thing in their own unique way. Okay, so let me just get myself on share screen to begin. Welcome to Raise the Bar, how to take yourself and business to the next level. And as financial planners, to Lianna's point, or to Christie's point, I don't want to throw everybody into the same box. You might be in the same profession, but you're individuals in that space. But I would think that a lot of you have a particular vibe that you come into the financial arena with, and you're thinking about the numbers, you're thinking about your clients and your customers and what's going on in the markets and how is the money going or not going for your clients. But this is about you today, and how do you want to raise the bar in your particular life? Now, if you have goals for yourself, and I'm thinking a lot of you have business goals that you're striving towards here, I believe you have, or had received a workbook from the team about this, to just jot down for yourself exactly what is your bar. Because it will be different for everybody, at least I hope it is. My bar won't be the same as Lianna or Christie's or Karen's or anybody else. It's special to me. I have my dreams, I have my hopes, I have my aspirations. So what is your particular bar? So as we move through this particular workshop, keep that in mind. It might shift, it might change, you might stretch a little further, and hopefully that is the plan. Okay, so let's get going. Oops. So the question I want to start off with, and holding your mind, and you can put it down in the chat box, and maybe we can answer one or two before my time is up, is what's holding you back? When I made a change in my life about almost 7 years ago, I was living in Ontario, and there was a little mini ice storm that had hit the area that I lived in, Belleville, Ontario. And I was trying to chip the ice off of the windscreen, and the door was frozen shut for 3 days, and I couldn't get in. And I was pouring hot water from a kettle onto the lock of the car, and I'm thinking there has to be a better way to live the rest of my life. My daughter was about to go off to university. My primary relationship was over, and I'm standing here pouring hot water on the lock of a car, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I stuck in this place and this space, going nowhere fast as I can, and I can't get into my car? So I thought to myself, what's holding me back? And it's the same thing that holds back most people. I don't have a plan, and I'm afraid. And what is the next step in my life? I don't know what to do. And I had nothing to stretch towards. I continued holding myself in that space. So I was holding myself back. So think about this. As you move towards the bar, the next bar in your climb, in either your career or your personal life, what is holding you back? Now, I did get in the car, and the next thing I thought to myself is, there's got to be a better way to live my life, and I'm going to find it, and I'm not doing it here. And this is how I ended up in Vancouver Island. I bounced out of Ontario alone. I got rid of all my stuff, 2 suitcases and a laptop later. I ended up here on Vancouver Island. I knew nobody. I had nowhere to live. I didn't have a pillow, a cup to drink out of, or dishes to eat out of. It didn't matter. I was taking the leap. I took it. And here I am 6 years later talking to you wonderful people on Advocis. Now, there's a story in itself that I don't think I have a whole lot of time to talk about, but I just want you to know you can stretch to the next place that you're going. Are you making $5–10 million a year? Great. Can you make 50? Do you have 100 people on your client list? Maybe you can do 200. Do you want to lose weight? That's a possibility too. Okay, so let's keep moving on. I know you want to know a little bit about who I am and what do I do. My name is Pamela Sylvan, as Christie told you. I own and operate a personal branding business, and I love my tagline, offering ridiculously good personal branding. I'm also the editor of a magazine called Good Joy Magazine and the Daily Joy newsletter. I'm also one of the founding members of Sycamore Entertainment Group, and now the director of communication for Segi TV. It's a publicly traded company that my brothers happen to own and direct, and I'm now on part of that team as well. And you'll see Thrive Global down there. That's a Huffington publication in which I am now helping pull stories together to put out there into the mainstream around empowerment, diversity, inclusion, the environment, all of it. Also an author. I finished my first book called How to Start Over in Life at 50. And my story about my 2 suitcases and laptop are part of the introduction of that story. So yes, I'm busy. I'm quite busy, but I love what I do. To me, this is why I get up in the morning. This is why I'm always pleased to meet new people. This is what gives me fuel every day. Like Lianna, I sit at my table in the dining room, and the minute I get up and I finish my morning routine, here I am. Other than going out for groceries, because we're in a lockdown now, this is where you'll find me. But I move through each of these things. I have a plan. I move through each of these things in a timely manner, and it gives me breath. It gives me joy. And Good Joy Magazine is part of that. I started something called the Good Joy. Okay. So let's dive into why you're here today. You want to raise the bar. So I hope you've written down what your bar happens to be. Okay. So today we're walking the path of 6 path stones that I have here. Now, this is not set in stone, so to speak. This is what I found has helped me to raise my bar to get me to where I have in my life and where I'm going next. So first of all, it's about getting in the game, learning to speak up. I recall Lianna's story about speaking up in that meeting, and even though someone else took the credit for it, she did say it, someone else took the credit, and she learned going forward that no matter what it is or what it sounds like, she will speak up even more louder and all the time, because that's quite important. This is about learning to stretch, and I'll talk about what that means. It's not a yoga position. It's about claiming your power, setting those intentions, and then of course, just deciding to go. Okay, so let's go. Now, getting in the game. What does it mean to get in the game? Now, I have 3 phrases here: decide, know the rules, and what are your outcomes. Now, if you look at that, it almost looks like a pyramid of sorts. And I did that on purpose because I want you to understand that it's about a decision. A lot of people start at the bottom. They want to know, well, what if I do this, what are the possible outcomes? What are the problems? What are the issues? What are the blocks? They want to know all this stuff before they decide and commit and go, right? And a lot of people stay stuck around that point and then wonder why 10 years of their life has passed and they haven't gone anywhere fast, all right? It's because you can never get to the top of where you're going if you want to plan everything out. The best laid plans, we've all heard this, the best laid plans are beautiful plans. And so many people get caught up living in that space, and they make it pretty and they PowerPoint it to death, and on and on and on it goes. And they've got beautiful stickers on it, and they've got a whole map on their wall, and they spend all of their life living in the plan. Now, as entrepreneurs, and I'm dubbing you all as entrepreneurs because you live the life as an entrepreneur, as a financial planner or what have you. We have to take account for how we spend our time and how we spend our energy. And there's something called an MVP, minimal viable product. And I want you to think about that for yourself when you are planning your next place of achievement. What is it that you can plan to get to right now if certain things were not an issue? I don't want to get into what the issues could possibly be, but what is it? What is the most minimal viable thing you can possibly do and say you're going to go? Because most people want to build the whole house before they move in. I say build the outside of the house and keep building the house after you move in. This is how I do everything that I do. I say, I got it, and then I start building around me. And then in 3 months, people wondered how I did it, because I made a decision. In the decision was the vision. All right. Then I come down to know the rules. Okay, what is it that I don't know that I probably need to know right now to keep going? Because by the time I decided and started to take action on some of this stuff, there were a few things that I began to understand, a lot of it coming back from the marketplace, because people would start asking questions. What about this? What about that? And as they're asking the questions, I'm taking note and finding the answers and saying, oh, you know what? I probably need a magazine. I started a newsletter called The Daily Joy. Somebody wanted to know, well, oh, how about, how do we know how other people feel about the information going in there? And I thought, you know what, the best way to handle that is to create a magazine around the newsletter. So the newsletter came second. Usually it's the other way around, right? My point here is don't get stuck and mired down in a lot of the details. Now, some of you might be going crazy around me saying that because you have grown up around the notion that you have to plan everything to an nth degree. And there's nothing wrong with planning. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is know where you're going, get in and keep planning. Plan, get in and keep planning and keep re-navigating, I call it. It's like an airplane pilot. We leave going to Hawaii, and most of the way to Hawaii, they're off course, but they're going in the right direction. And they somehow manage to land on the particular island you're going to. Same with you. Where are you going? Decide, understand the rules as you're going, so you're not breaking too many of them as you're going. And what are the outcomes? Because a lot of the time after you get in, the destination might change, but just get in. So for your business or your personal life, only you will know where you're going. The point of it is, and I stress this, decide. A lot of people do not decide. They're dabbling. It's like a hobby. So if things go wrong or the first sign of trouble hits, out they go. And you can see those people. The minute it goes wrong, they change careers. The minute it goes wrong, they're out of the relationship. The minute it goes wrong, they're moved again, or they switch their cars, or they've moved to a different part of town. They haven't decided and or committed. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is how do you get in the game? And as I said, commit. Make a decision. You might want to tell somebody, tell your coach, tell your mentor, tell your productivity partner or coach, but commit. What does commitment feel like for you? It's cutting all losses, making sure that you don't have a net. I know a lot of people talk about having that net, and in the financial world, it might be having enough savings to make another decision, or your investment portfolios are set up for your retirement. So if anything goes wrong, you're not wondering what you're going to do when you hit 60 or 65. I'm not specifically talking to that type of net. I'm talking about making sure that you understand that when you choose something or you choose a direction, that you have fully committed from the inside out that you are going. People love to watch those that have fully committed to a course of action. At least I know I do. I want to see when things don't go as planned or obstacles hit as they usually will, what are you going to do? And the people who are fully committed to the plan are the ones that come up with the solutions. The ones that are not committed to the plan just quit and run. And I'm always interested in those that are going to stick it out and overcome. I'm all about overcoming. My life up until this point has been about overcoming. Next, know thyself. This is very, very important. Some of you might be wondering, well, I thought she said she was about personal branding and PR, and I am. And the reason that I got into this next level of conversation around the sort of ineffable qualities is that I found that when I'm working with clients, especially female clients, they would get bogged down in a lot of emotional things. Nothing wrong with having emotions. Everybody needs to have emotions. That's not what I'm talking about. But there are certain scripts and entrained beliefs that women specifically carry around that keep them in a place where they can't overcome and grow. A lot of women, especially of a certain age, are stuck in those beliefs. So knowing thyself really means understanding what makes you tick. Now, what does that mean? It means understanding why you will go or not go. And if you're choosing not to go, what are the conversations that pop up into your head that keeps you circulating in a certain place? What are the beliefs that keep you afraid and in a place of self-doubt? Know what makes you tired. Know your physicality. Know your numbers. Know your desires. Know what makes you mad. Know your limits about things. Know who you like to hang around with. Know the energies that inspire you. Know the energies that make you afraid and contract. Know where you're going. Know why you're not choosing to go. This is the first thing I work with when I'm working with branding clients, not about specifically the people that will be their customers one day, but know yourself in relation to the business you're in. Why are you there? After being in a business for any length of time, have you stopped and done an audit as to why you're still there? Did it just get comfortable and really why bother? Is it because you're too afraid to learn something new that might take you to a whole new level of existence? Are you bored? Are you lazy? Are you afraid? Are you on autopilot? What is it? Or the opposite, maybe you just love what you do and you couldn't imagine doing anything differently. Maybe you want to show other people how they can do this wonderful thing that you do. Maybe you want to lend support. Maybe you want to be inspirational and motivational and start teaching what you know how to do. Whatever it is and whatever end of the spectrum you happen to be living today, know what it is. Know what triggers you. Most people do not know themselves. They somehow arrived at adulthood and have no idea why the things that happen to them happen. Okay. The next thing is to schedule. As financial planners, scheduling is a big part of your days and life and how you do what you do so well, but schedule time. I'm not going to speak too much about this right now because I think I will handle it better. I believe in point number 5 about intentions, but schedule things for yourself. We are busy people. We live in a busy society where the minute you open your eyes, you're on practically, right? So I have to schedule a morning routine for myself where I'm up at 5 o'clock and there's a series of things I do. And I can't believe when 9 o'clock comes, but 4 hours of my time has gone already. And where did it go? This is how our lives are so layered. But schedule yourself. Schedule you. Schedule time to connect to you. But I'm going to leave it there for now and move over to feedback. Feedback's important. We have blind spots. We don't know, we can't see ourselves. You know, it's like having broccoli in your teeth. Somebody else has to see the broccoli. for you to get it out of there. And that's why it's really great to have a mentor or a coach or a productivity partner or somebody that will give you the feedback and ask questions. I had a mentor. He was instrumental in getting me to take action on things. He would send me 4 questions at the end of every night. And it's the same 4 questions, and I would have to answer those 4 questions. But what the questions allowed me to see was how I was playing in the game I decided to play in. Because sometimes we say we're going and there's no one to tell us, well, you side railed yourself, or you fell into the pit, or you're on the wrong track, or you have your ladder up against the wrong wall. That's why feedback, mentorship, coaching is so important. You cannot see what you don't know. Okay, so think about that. So let's move on. Number 2, and Lianna spoke really well to this, which was speak up. Now, as women in a world predominantly, run by men, I like Lianna's world of engineering, predominantly populated by men in the decision-making roles especially, speaking up can be a very intimidating thing. Speaking up is frightening. Speaking up is one of those things we women were not trained to do. We were trained to look good, not cause waves or problems, make sure everybody else is happy, but we weren't given the command to speak up. Men do it so well. They'd be in a group or at a meeting or at that boardroom table, and idea after idea, thought after thought is put out there, and we are sitting there either waiting our turn, someone to give us permission to talk, or even if we had a wonderful idea, we would just let it go, hoping either somebody else had it or asked a question, or some miracle moment would happen where we can put our ideas forth. If that's happening to you, these are a couple of things that you might want to think about. Maybe you're not understanding or connected to your value. All right, what is your value? Do you know what it is? Or are you just automatically going through your day and your life, not understanding that you have value? And let me tell you something, I don't know you and may never know you, but I know this. The mere fact that you are here, not just at this meeting today, but you are here, you're alive, and you're walking around, and you're contributing in some way, you have value. Your family thinks you have value. As a woman, there's a lot of value you bring to the table every day. Just step away for 24, 48 hours and you'd see how many things fall apart. So that mere fact that you have value, but you have value unto yourself as a human being living and breathing. There's value there. You put time and energy into your education, into your self-care. There are a lot of areas in which you built yourself up. You deserve to have a place at the table. And the first thing you need to know about that is that you belong at the table. I think Lianna mentioned that have patience. If you're not getting the rewards or the promotions right away, it doesn't mean that they don't see you. I mean, they can't have everybody at the top at the same time, correct? But keep investing in yourself. Keep practicing your trade. Keep contributing. As someone that helps people with their personal branding, one of the things that I always offer up to them at this point is put together a personal media kit for yourself. This is not just for celebrities or businesses. Everybody should have a media kit for themselves. It's replacing resumes, by the way, because we live in a digital age. The paper resumes we'd always walk in, sure, you can always have it if you'd like. But when you apply for anything these days, people Google your name. When's the last time you Googled your name? Okay, if you're not Googling your name on a regular basis, you're missing out because one, you don't know what's there and could be in your way, blocking you. And if there's nothing there, that might be a little bit of an issue too, especially as a professional. And here's why. Let's just say that you are looking to be promoted in your area of expertise or your job. And it's a very difficult decision for the decision makers, because maybe there are 3 or 5 of you who are equally yoked, I'll call it. All right. And the decision comes down to who are the valuable thought leaders, because in business now we're looking for people who can think for themselves, are flexible in their abilities, and can take leadership positions at a moment's notice. All right, your education is equal, your experience is equal, your time on the job is equal. So what will make you stand out in that? Well, it's putting your ideas out into the world. A lot of people are afraid of that because we live in a cancel culture. Not if you do it right. All right. I'll take Lianna. Lianna is in the world of engineering. What can she or someone like her do to be thought as a thought leader? Here she is in front of a myriad of financial planners. Okay. How did she get here? Now, I would think by a huge guess and stretch that she got here because she shared her experience. She put her ideas forward. She's a thought leader. Somebody heard her say something somewhere some time ago. And those listening said, you know what, there's a woman who knows her stuff. It doesn't mean that she's the smartest engineer out there. I'm sure she's great, but that's not the point. The point is that she said something, she shared herself. This is why it's so important to put forward your experience, knowledge, and wisdom out there. Start a blog. Video is the thing. Share your information, share what you know. Let people know that you have a thought. Because when I'm making decisions about people, and I'm making them every single day, I'm looking for people for certain things, for other people. I'm looking to see who's available out there. All right. And the people that get the opportunities are the people that show up. This is all part of speaking up. Every day you have an opportunity to speak up, and there is no reason available to you any longer that you can't do that. You have internet, you have the ability to speak up. You can start your own podcast, you can start your own newsletter, you can start your own website and blog, you can start your own private communities. There's a myriad of things you can do. All you want to do is post to Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever it is. You have the ability to do that. So what I or my people like myself are looking for, guest speakers for Thrive Global, or looking for a podcast guest, or whatever it is we're looking for, we are looking for the people that show up consistently. Because the worst thing you can do is to start any of those things and leave it for 6 months. Because all that says to me is, oh, I guess they weren't interested. All right. So don't start something that you're not prepared to keep going with. And I call that practice. All right. How do you get past your fear of speaking up? Consistent practice. Practice consistently. All right. Now, I might be speaking to the choir about this here, but you'd be surprised how many places and times that this escapes you. If you're looking to raise the bar, depending on what you're trying to raise the bar on, be seen. We live in a world where that's, what's your name? I see Christie Coltman's name. First thing I'm doing is I'm typing in Christie Coltman. What is she all about? What has she done? What does she think? What is she about? What has she achieved? Can I bring her into my inner circle and have her stand up to that group of people over there? I don't have to know Christie well to understand Christie just based on what I'm seeing here. So if you leave with nothing else from this today, with a group of professionals trying to raise the bar, this right here makes a difference. Get yourself a personal media kit. It's digital, it's online. People can see you. What do you look like? Do you have any sound bites? What do you sound like? What knowledge are you bringing to your area of expertise? I say this, I love talking about this. This gets me riled up because I see where perfectly capable people miss the mark. I'm afraid, they say. I'm afraid all the time. Okay. Stretch. Yeah, we can do the stretch and, you know, we can do the yoga thing. And right now I probably do need a little bit of a stretch, all that talking, but what is it about stretch that scares people? And what do I even mean by that? Okay. I'm talking about moving from chasing to stretching. Now, what do I mean by that? All right. We are trained to chase. That's how we went through our education, and that's how we went through our jobs and corporate positions. You chase the golden ring, chase the promotion, chase the money, chase, chase, chase. But here's the thing. The people that are my heroes, may not be yours, but the people that are my heroes are those that made do and turned the resources they had in their hand into gold. What do you have? Well, first thing I have is me. It's the first thing I have. I have the ability to talk. I have the ability to walk. I have the ability to think. I have the ability to create and write and all these things I have. So out of that seemingly meager set of assets, I created a media business. All right. No one handed me a pile of money and said, here, buy some cable time, buy a publication and a staff of writers. No one said that to me. All right. So I used what I had in my hand and I stretched it and I created something. I called it the MacGyver principle. I'm aging myself by saying MacGyver. Remember that show MacGyver, where MacGyver had to get out of all sorts of things with a toothpick and a paper clip type of thing? This is what I'm talking about. You don't need additional resources most of the time. How many resources do we spend money on every year when it comes to, oh, got another journal. Oh, I need another planner. You know, a couple of courses I've been to. Oh, well, I'm going to buy out all the books that I possibly can. Okay. I mean, I'm just being silly now, but and I'm not going to pull all the books off my bookshelf, but you understand what I mean. We think the answer is in another book. These books have wonderful information, don't get me wrong, but the answer is not in another book. The answer is in the book that you should have read all the way through and then acted on. The best piece of advice I ever got was from my brother. And I hated him so much when he said it to me at the time. I said, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe the book I'm reading right now. And it says all of this wonderful stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he listened to me and he said, well, why don't you put the book down and just do what it says? I thought, oh, you mean I have to now do something? And so we get caught up in accumulating more and consuming more stuff, and we never actually do what the thing says to do. One of the books here, Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In. I don't know if you can see that. Many have read that book, Lean In, talking about women work and the will to lead, especially in a man's world. For those of you that read the book, have you done it? What she said to do? It's a really good story. And we cheer her and we watch her on Oprah and we do all these things and say yes. And we share her memes on Facebook and wherever else we share it. But do we do what they say? They've walked the talk. They're showing you how to do it. And we don't believe. So when my brother said to stop reading and buying the books and just do what the last book told you to do, I was first mad because the truth makes us mad. It pisses us off. And then we stop being mad and we actually get in there. Magic happens. Okay. So how do you stretch? I'm going to skip over the script part and say, ask for more. More what? Well, ask for higher expectations from yourself. What are you expecting? The same that you got last year? What about the people around you? Maybe, especially if you're mothers and grandmothers or aunties or anything like that, Everyone has the potential for greatness. Are you doing what you need to do to help them uncover that and move out into more? Okay, that's how you help other people, by walking the talk first and then seeing the potential in other people. All right. Mix and coalesce. What does that mean? We live in a time now of unprecedented access to information. I don't have to tell you that. But we also are living in a time where we are also looking at conversations around inclusion. I will be talking with a woman, Sarah, who is a NASCAR driver, an IndyCar driver on this particular team, first time on this team ever, and she'll be doing the Extreme E-Race across 4 places on the globe. And I'll be on the phone with her because I want to find out how she feels to be in a male-dominated environment that is so rough and tumble and dangerous at times, because when those cars crash, they explode. All right. But these are the conversations that we now have to put ourselves in. In what ways are you now mixing with the new culture that is out there? There are some of us don't have the opportunity sometimes, right, to be around different kinds of conversations and different types of people. But we are globally connected through technology. I speak to people on the Indian continent all the time that I would never meet in person. People in New Zealand, people in Europe, people in Africa. I will never meet in person probably. Sometimes we do interviews, sometimes we do business with these people. So here's the thing. If I only stuck to the people I knew, or the people that looked like me, or the people that lived around the block, I'm stuck. The people that are rising are those that have the ability and make it their business to expand out. And saying that I don't know how is no longer acceptable, because all you have to do is type in Google, how do I expand? And the list shows up. Don't know how to do what the list says? Hire someone that knows how. Okay, so raising the bar is not this elusive thing anymore of I don't know how. It's about willingness. All right, and in business, especially at a level where it's highly competitive now. Now I know in your business you have rules and regulations and about territory and geography and where your license allows you to do business and all of that. I totally get that. So it might be, not a big deal at this point. But as we grow and things mix up, even learning how other people do things by connecting to them is huge. Even right here, you don't even have to go to India to meet new people. Right here in this community you're in. When is the last time that you connected to someone that has a different conversation from you? Here's a question for you. And out of the 150 something people I see on this call, I know somebody has the answer. How many people do I know? All right. Now, I'm going to give you the answer because I'm just like that. The answer is you don't know. And that's the point. You don't know how many people I know. And an addendum to that question is, you don't know who I know. So part of raising your bar is never making assumptions about anybody, about anything. Because you might pass me in the street and say, oh, no. Because in a split second, a decision was made about that. Meanwhile, I know the police chief. I know all the guys down at the legislature practically, because I made it my business to know when I got here, so I can spread out and expand. So when I call Dalmatic and say, Dal, this is what I need to know, he takes my call. And that's the point. How many people know your name? Because those people are connected to a pool of people. So become a hub and a maven. Mix and coalesce. It may not have anything to do with your business today, but when somebody in their group says, oh, they're looking for someone that does what you do, boom, there goes your name. If you leave with nothing else, that's one that you want to do and make a point of doing. That's the art of connection. We think networking groups. No, I don't go to those things. Even before COVID, I stopped going because I'm still talking to the same people. Who do I know that is in charge of a large group of people? I call them mavens. Connect, find the maven. Take the maven to coffee, lunch, or dinner, whatever it feels comfortable for you. In time of COVID, figure something out, okay? And talk to the mavens. You want your business to grow, talk to the mavens. Bring something of value to the maven. I'm not talking about an item. Bring information, bring something, connect them to somebody they need to connect to. Do something. This is how I grow my life. Become a hub and a connection. Be known as the person that ... Every day that I go to, every night that I go to bed, when I'm writing down in my book what happened, and when I get those 4 questions, that's one of the questions. How did you expand? Did you help somebody else expand? We are about expansion. Life goes nowhere and stalls out if we keep things close to our chest and we haven't reached out and touched other people somehow. Be a connector. Okay, so I think that's all I want to talk about on this one. But, oh, and I want to say a little bit about what grows in and around you. Grow what's in and around you. That's really all part of this conversation. I'm not even sure what my time is here, but Karen, I see Karen. Karen, if the time's getting close, just point your finger up that I've got 10 minutes and I can just, okay, because I can see you. But I just want you to understand you are responsible for reaching that bar. Even if it's your manager, district manager saying wow, okay. Even if it's your district manager that says we need to grow our bottom line by 10% this quarter, it's up to you to figure out how you're going to do it. All right, so let's boogie. I'm only halfway through and I got 10 minutes. Oh no. Okay, so I'm just going to fast track a little bit through this because again, you've heard this. I'm just reiterating this. You're professional women, you've heard this. Where does your power reside? Inside, but also out. Inside meaning, what are the stumbling blocks? What are the scripts? What are the thought processes, the mindsets that keep you stuck and in place? And I'll tell you a brief story. I went to a week-long leadership management course in San Francisco once, and they had us all in a conference one morning talking about something. And every time you had a question about something, you had to put money in this jar and able to be part of this thing. You had to connect to the facilitator by putting money in a jar. At the end of the morning, the jar was full of cash. And as he's packing his desk up to go, the money's still sitting there. We're all sitting there wondering, well, what about the money? One woman got up, went and took the whole jar and sat back down, and everybody started grumbling. And he said, well, I didn't say it was my money. I'll never forget that lesson. The lesson was, why are you always waiting for permission to go get what you want? Everybody wanted that money and she was the only one that went and got it. Okay, so the power in you is the power that you see outside. What you see outside is a reflection of what's going on in here. You don't like what's going on outside, change what's going on in here. I work with people on this all the time. All right. How do you claim it? Decide, act again, keep track. Okay. Intentions, number 5. You've all heard about intentions. What are the intentions for your business, for your life? I'm not going to answer that. That's a personal, private conversation. But it's something that you ask yourself and you keep asking yourself every day so you keep on track, all right? How do you trigger the power intention? I do this through my morning routine. All right, my morning routine consists of, I get up, clean myself up a bit, drink some water, all right, my protein stuff, and then I sit down for about 15, 20 minutes, depending on my timing, and I just get quiet before the rest of the world comes in. I don't put my phone on. My mind's not stuck on the news of the day yet. Quiet. You want to call it meditation, please do. All right. I visualize. What did I say that I wanted again? Because we get distracted. We say we want this and boom, our brain bounces off over here because somebody said something and we forgot what we told ourselves we're doing. I'm that type of person that forgets what I said really easy because there's so many distractions all the time, so many moving parts. So I have to reconnect to what it is I said that I wanted to do and accomplish for me. Okay, the next thing I do is I claim and affirm. This is my thing, but I have to talk it out. And I actually say it so I can hear it. All right. Secret sauce, gratitude. Don't have to talk about that, do I? Gratitude. Secret sauce. It's like on the McDonald's secret sauce on their hamburger stuff. Secret sauce and everything that you're trying to do here. We work so hard. We run. We're knocking our heads against concrete walls. And all we need to do is disconnect from all of that stuff. All right. And realign. We're doing this wrong. We're doing our lives in a very difficult way, and we don't have to. That's a whole nother workshop. I'm not going to do that here. Number 6 is go. What does that mean? That sounds simple. Go. And even Nike said, just do it. Just go. But what's getting in front of your go? Your self-doubt, imposter syndrome. You're making $10 million a year and trying to figure out how to make 20, you still have self-doubt. People who haven't reached certain goals think that the people that have done those goals somehow are free and clear of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or any of that stuff. No, they still have their own devil. You've heard of that saying, new level, new devil. All right. Working with your self-doubt. What identity have you connected to that enables self-doubt to take root and fester within you? You have to work that out. Again, that's part of your journaling process, and it's through inquiry. I keep asking, why am I afraid here? What is it that's going on right in this moment that I just all of a sudden have this self-doubt going on? And sometimes it's something very simple, and sometimes it's hidden from me in that moment, and it doesn't come to me for a couple of days. But it's through inquiry. Query yourself. Okay. And how do you trigger the power of consistency? Your system. Do you have a system? Do you have a system for making money? Do you have a system for getting clients? Do you have a system for losing weight? Do you have a system for well-being and self-care? Do you have a system for anything? Not an over-aggregated plan, a system. My system is so easy. And I even write it down. I wake up, I write it down, and I put it in my phone. It beeps at 5. I wake up, then I do the next thing, and then I do the next thing, and then I do the next thing, and then I do the next thing. The system takes me to the goal. Okay. Now, I didn't mean to rush through this, but it's so much information. I just want you to understand as you're writing things down and you're hearing this is that, one, there are no excuses for you not going towards that next level. That we are awash in information. This is about willingness. This is about opening yourself up to more, releasing fixed mindsets and moving into flexible thinking. All right. And all I want to finish up here with is you can't do it alone. A lot of you know each other, whatever part of the country you're in, you have buddies, and plan together. Hold each other accountable for some of this stuff. Get yourself that personal media kit. I'm watching. I'm always looking. I'm looking for voices of reason, voices of experience. If not me, that's how Oprah's people look for people. They go on the line. How do you think they find them, at the supermarket? They go online, right? Who do you know? All right. That's how I got on the news the other day. Someone said, who do you know? Call Pamela. I got on the news. All right. How do they know to say call Pamela? Because they see me talking all the time. All right. Be known for something. Be a maven. Connect to large groups and sources of people. All right. And all I want to finish up with saying, there's no excuse. There really isn't. There's no excuse. Too many resources available for you to say you can't. And I know you can. If you're here, if you made it here today, you've already proven that you're willing and you're able and you can. Thank you. Questions? Are there any questions? I don't know.
Pamela, I do have one question that's come in, and so it had to do with all those books that pass by. What is the one book that had the most impact on you?
Oh, there it is. I didn't even pull it out. There are so many, but this one is called Your New Money Story. My old money story got me so far. My new story's taken me the rest of the way. It's by David Kruger, MD. The Beliefs, Behaviors, and Brain Science to Rewire for Wealth.
Hoping that there's so many financial advisors on the call, I'm sure they'll love that.
Yeah, it's about story.
Well, I just, in listening to you, I think what it reminded me is how important it is to sort of take that breath, step back, and then decide what is it that I want to do, professionally and personally, and then go from there. And I love your workbook. I think it has such strong, deep questions, and it's something that everyone on this call, I'm sure, is going to have different answers to.
Yes, I wanted to make it as sort of as vague as possible because everybody has to pour and project themselves into it. I didn't want to start giving you all of these points. When I work with people one-on-one, I do that in that space. On this type of space, it's for you to pour in, make time, pour in.
Thank you. And someone just asked if you could just give the name of that book again. You said The New Money Story, is that correct?
Yes, Your New Money Story by David Kruger.
Thank you.
See that?
Well, thank you for spending the time with us today, Pamela.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Just as a reminder, if you are enjoying these presentations, please post them using hashtags Thriving Women 2021 and Advocis Women 2021. And now I'm going to introduce Sybil Verch, the Executive President of Private Client Solutions with Raymond James. Sybil is actively engaged in the Women's Advisory Council at Raymond James. Her published book, The Female Edge, is focused on changing the status quo when it comes to gender diversity in senior leadership roles. Sybil is also the executive producer and host of the finance television talk show, The Wealthy Life. Welcome, Sybil.
Thank you very much, Christine. Great to be here. And wow, what an amazing group of women. I can't believe how many of us have come together. I'm inspired. I so miss seeing people in person, as I know each of you do. This is the second best thing. So thank you for giving me some new energy today, which is great. I'm going to kick it off with a question for you. So what I want you to do is you're going to answer the question. If your answer is yes, you're going to go down the bottom of your screen and just click on a reaction, maybe like a high five. Can you see that showed up on my screen? Or maybe it's a thumbs up, either or. And the question is, do you believe in luck? So those of you that believe in luck, I want you to put an icon. If you don't believe in luck, don't respond. And I'm just going to take a minute and I'm going to glance through the screens here so I can kind of see percentages. Okay, well, good news and bad news story. So it's a mix. I think less than half of you apparently believe in luck. And the good news about believing in luck is you're probably optimistic. And optimism is highly correlated to success. So good things on the horizon. The bad news is when you believe in luck, you tend to give away your power or your control. So that's not a good thing. Don't rely on just luck to get what you want. And that's why the title of this session is Success is a Choice. Ideally, you'll find the right balance of being optimistic while still owning your actions and the results that come from those actions. Success really is a choice because we all have more control over the outcome than we give ourselves credit for. We have full control on the effort we put in, and the more effort we put in, the highly or more likely we are to achieve the results we're looking for. So own it. Success is your choice. And over the next 20 minutes, I hope to show you how. We're going to cover seizing opportunities to succeed in a male-dominated industry and some of the common challenges women face and how to overcome them. So what is success? There's a lot of different definitions, and I bet you if I went around and asked each of you what success means, I'd get different answers. It really is yours to define, and don't let anyone else tell you differently. It's your success and yours to define. Simply put, it's really just the attainment of a goal. So what are your goals? Society, in my opinion, likes to put far too much emphasis on grandiose achievements of title, fame, fortune, fancy cars, fancy houses. That's not success to me. It's one form of success, but real success to me is simple. It's finding and experiencing joy. Isn't that what we're all here to do in the first place? Isn't that kind of the meaning of life, is to find that joy? And when you think about how good it feels to accomplish something, you get that sense of joy. It might be a small goal or a large one. It might be advancing your career, getting a promotion. It might be paying off your mortgage. It might be taking your business to that next level. It might be to lose 10 pounds or run a 5-kilometer, 10-kilometer, or a marathon, getting in shape, or it might be spending more time having true quality time with family. So define your own version of success. I'm going to share a few highlights of my journey so that you can see some examples of some challenges that I've had to overcome. And I would encourage each of you along the way, if you've got a pen and paper handy, to just, as we go along, things that pop to your mind, goals that you want to achieve, write them down, and write down some of the challenges that you're maybe currently facing in your life right now. What are some of the things getting in your way? So going back in time, when I was a little girl, I did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Actually, sometimes I think I still don't. I can't think of a single child that would, imagine a 6-year-old little girl who would aspire to become a financial advisor or the executive of a Fortune 500 company when they grew up. It's just not what little kids think of. Most kids would think doctor, policeman, fireman, teacher, or something else. The other thing I didn't understand as a little girl is that pink was for girls, blue was for boys. And I'm glad to see we're changing that. I was a tomboy. I liked to get dirty. I refused to wear a dress. I remember crying hysterically one day when I was about 7 years old because my mom wanted to put a dress on me and there was no way I was putting that dress on. Now I love dresses. Isn't that funny? It's good to be dressed up and embrace our femininity. But what I did know as a little girl is that for some strange reason, I wanted to be the breadwinner in the family. I wanted to have, I didn't know what that meant, but other than I wanted to have my own income coming in and be independent. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a family. I wanted my husband to be funny and cute and domestic, to do cooking and cleaning around the house. It's interesting because it's exactly what I have. I got a great husband. And I got a happy career and I did achieve those things. And I really look back and think it's probably related to the power of intention. And the power of intention is, you know, at the time I didn't know what that meant, but now when I look back, I realize how powerful that is. And I'm sure many of you have your own stories to share. And the power of intention starts with really putting it in your mind of what you want. You don't have to have all the specifics worked out, but you've got to have some big picture things to think of. I also didn't realize how much work it would take and the number of obstacles that would constantly be thrown in my way that I would have to overcome. But the good news is overcoming obstacles build confidence and they still bring joy. Feels good. So it wasn't, many of you will know, it is not easy succeeding in a male-dominated industry. And it's groups like this and us women coming together that is changing that. When I started in the industry in '94, it was over 90% men at that time. And I mean, it's still about 85% men today. So this slow progress of change is really what inspired me to write the book, The Female Edge. I really do feel we have an edge. We are in demand. It's up to us to seize those opportunities. I was frustrated that we keep talking about gender inequality, but are very slow to see change. It's not happening fast enough. I want things to happen quicker. I wanted to empower and inspire women, and I wanted women to inspire and empower each other. It's our time, and it's going to be our time for much, like decades to come, forever. Women are in demand and opportunities are ours for the taking. We need more women in leadership. Studies show that this increases productivity and profitability. I mean, we all know that. We just have to get everybody, 100% of the population, to understand that. So why aren't we there yet? Now, in my research, I have found there's two main reasons for gender inequality. Number one is unconscious biases, and actually, unfortunately, sometimes conscious biases by hiring individuals and firms. So that's something that needs to change. And the second thing is female mindset and behavior. Now, this may shock you a little bit, but what I mean by that is us women not stepping up. And I know Pamela talked about Lean In and Sheryl Sandberg. And the answer to your question, I did read the book and it actually did inspire me to take action, which I have taken action. And I'm just like, she motivated me. It was great. But it's one thing to just think about it and listen and read. It's another thing to take action. So some of you may find this offensive when I say we're getting in our own way, but until we embrace that, we're not going to change anything. So I focused in the book mainly on the female mindset and common obstacles getting in our way is because that's where we get our power from. And that's when we can focus on what we can control versus trying to change others, like trying to change a man's thinking or the old boys club thinking or relying on luck. I mean, we're not going to get anywhere if we rely on those things. So let's focus on what we can change. So that segues nicely into what are the most common obstacles I found that women are facing. And again, this is just through the research that I did, and it's always changing. But at that time, the three main things were lack of confidence, work-life balance, and lack of mentorship. Those three things. So I struggle with these things too. I struggled with them then, I still do. But I found ways to work through them and overcome them. So let's talk about lack of confidence. It is so highly correlated to negative self-talk. And I know Pamela spoke of this during her presentation. Here's the thoughts that go through our head. And yeah, they go through mine too sometimes. I'm not good enough. I don't have all the qualifications. He or she could do it better than me. They have more experience. What if I fail? Why me? I mean, I don't even know if many of you understand or listen to your self-talk. Most people don't until someone reminds them that they should. So here's an exercise for you guys to do as a takeaway. For the next 24 hours, I want you to listen to that voice inside your head. And even if you just have a little notebook, just jot down some of the things that you're hearing. Don't judge them. Don't change them. Just listen to yourself. Identifying the message you're telling yourself is the first step in changing those messages. So first you need to listen, and it's a huge factor in increasing confidence. So what if we changed those messages? What if the messages we then told ourselves was, I'm good enough. I can learn. I may not know how to do it, but I'll learn. I will develop experience by doing. It's okay to fail. Everybody fails. We just pick up and try again. And why not me? Just imagine the difference we would experience if we tell ourselves those things. So I know we've all heard this before and it's repetition, but sometimes we need to hear it 10 times. And sometimes we hear the right thing at the right time when we're ready to hear it and take action on it. So maybe that'll apply to some of you today. And don't be so hard on ourselves, because this is a work in progress. I still hear negative messages, but I still remind myself to listen and change them. So the key to increasing our confidence, the real secret to building confidence, aside from listening to those messages and changing those messages, really boils down to getting out of your comfort zone, doing something that challenges us or makes us nervous. Maybe it's public speaking or speaking up at a meeting, as Pamela talked about. Don't avoid it. Try it. You'll see it's maybe not that bad. And guess what? You did it. What was the outcome of that? You can do it. I remember doing a fitness thing. It's Mud Militia. It was kind of like a mini Tough Mudder. And one of the obstacles that I had to do, or was supposed to do, is climbing a rope. Remember doing that as a kid? Big rope hanging, you got to climb up to the top. Oh my gosh, there's no way I could do it. This is what I was telling myself. I can't do this. Oh my gosh. But I thought, no, maybe I can. What are the people who are doing it? What are they doing? A lot of people couldn't, and they fell and they got muddy, and that was okay too. It was okay to fail. But I watched and I changed my thinking. I said, okay, if I try that, maybe I could do it. I can't tell you how good I did it. I can't tell you how silly this is, but I felt so good getting to the top of the rope, and there was a bell and I had to ding that bell. It was awesome. So I tried it, I did it, I felt good. It built my confidence. Having confidence is all about believing in yourself, which takes work, and it does come easier to some than others, but it is attainable by everybody. We all know the saying, fake it till you make it, but have you tried it? It's how I got started in my career, and it's contributed to a lot of major successes in my life. And I don't mean lying to people. It's not saying you can do something if you can't. It's just portraying that confidence like you can do it, that faking it till you make it. So when I wanted to become a financial advisor, I was an assistant working at a brokerage firm. This was the first, this major obstacle that got in my way. I decided I wanted to do this. And one of my colleagues, another advisor, a male advisor, pulled me aside and said, Sybil, what are you doing? You're a great assistant. Why do you want to be an advisor? It's a really high failure rate. It's so hard. And you're not going to make it. And not many people make it. And you've got 3 things going against you that others don't have. I'm like, really? What are those? Well, he said, you're young. I was young at the time, 24 when we had this conversation. You're female. And you're pretty. Nobody's going to take you seriously. I'm like, wow, you're not going to make it. I was horrified. I left his office and I didn't even know how to feel. I thought, I can't do this because I'm a woman, is really what I heard out of that. And so I could have listened to him. Even my own mother said to me, why would you give up your cushy assistant job where you've got a salary and benefits? It's safe and secure. To be an advisor where you're your own business owner and you're on commission and you might fail, there's no security in that. She didn't understand. Now she gets it. Way more security in being an advisor than there is in an assistant when you make it. Anyways, I ended up getting mad. And I thought, I'm going to prove him wrong. I could have just listened to him and actually stayed as an assistant because I enjoyed it. But I said, no, it's not what I really wanted. I'm going to prove them wrong. A year goes by, I brought in 20 million in assets in my first year in the business. And I did that each year for the first 3 years in my business. And after that first year, he came into my office and he goes, Sybil, oh my gosh, you're so successful. Wow, I gotta admit, I'm a bit jealous. Like, what are you doing that's working so well? I go, wait. Don't tell me. You got 3 things going for you that the rest of us don't have. You're young, you're female, and you're pretty, and people are just drawn to you. Oh my gosh, he had no idea. If you think I'm making this up, like, it's just crazy. I didn't have the heart to tell him those were the 3 things that a year ago he said were going to get in my way. He had no recollection, honestly, over his head. And so the moral of that story, what I really learned was, don't let anyone else tell you what you can or cannot do. Figure it out for yourself. And I could have failed, and I was scared. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to pay my mortgage or put food on my table, or how much debt I was going to have to take on to succeed. It was scary, but I tried it and it did work. But even if it didn't, I would have known and I would have learned from that. So it was okay. So we talk about the second obstacle. It's work-life balance. And I know that Lianna shared a lot of great tips and tricks for balancing work-life. So thank you for that. How do we define work-life balance? Everyone talks about it. It's a buzzword, but what does it really mean? So if you love your job, is it work? I don't know. I don't think so. To me, it all kind of blends together. It's just a part of my life. That being said, sometimes I overdo it on the work side, and there's other things in life that I want to enjoy, and maybe I don't give them enough time. So it's a constant balance from that perspective. But we often make judgments of others about what work life should look like without really knowing the truth. When you look online and we're talking about, people's perception and their media profile, that's great from an inspiration perspective. But keep in mind, you're only going to see the good side of people. You're going to see the accomplishments, and you're going to see everything that's awesome in their life. You're not going to necessarily see the challenges, the obstacles, the hard work, the failures, the lost money, the cost or struggles associated with those achievements. And I'm not trying to say that to discourage people, because that's also part of the journey and part of the joy, and part of what makes success so great is overcoming those and achieving those things. But just be careful when you're comparing yourself to others. I think comparing ourselves to others is only good as long as it comes from an inspirational or motivational perspective. So when you look at someone who's done great things and that inspires you to take action, to do something similar, that's positive, that's healthy, that's great. But if you look at others and it makes you feel bad or dissatisfied with your own life choices or what you've accomplished, that's not good. And that'll come up in some of your self-talk and some of those messages you're telling yourself. So just keep that in mind. I'll never forget my sister. Her and I are so opposite, and we're best friends. But for years and years, she told me this, that she felt like she lived in my shadow. And I remember her aha moment, and it was so powerful. She looked at me one day and she said, Sybil, I used to want what you have. Then I realized I don't want to work that hard. I see what you put into it, and I don't get the same enjoyment from what you're doing as you do. It doesn't bring me joy. So she was able to accept and embrace those differences and find her own confidence and achieve her own successes in things that bring her joy. And it was just such a powerful, life-changing experience for her and for me. We can't do it all ourselves. We need help. When my baby was born, I was 3 years into my business, my husband took the parental leave. I couldn't have built the successful practice without that support at home. So whether it's a spouse, a family member, or hired help, it's help all the same. And we need to not be afraid to ask for help. And it's hard. It's hard for me too. I still struggle with it. I hate asking for help, but I'm getting better at it, and I need to do it more often. So, I've learned the hard way. not to overbook myself. And I really liked Lianna's suggestion about scheduling. I'm a big believer in time blocking. I just need to keep reminding myself 80% is the max rule that I try to live by. Don't book yourself more than 80% capacity. Always leave that buffer because things come up. And I also regularly refer back to something called the perfect life wheel exercise. I'm not going to go through that today. For those of you that maybe do have a copy of the book, it's on page 79 of The Female Edge. And it really is a good exercise, a simple exercise to go through to find your own perfect life balance, work-life balance. And the final thing is obstacle is lack of mentorship and effective networking. You know, it kind of ties in with asking for help. We got to get over that. Find a role model, network with others, seek the mentorship. I am in the role I am today because of mentorship and networking. One story, quick story I'll share is The Wealthy Life. So how did that come to be? I had never produced or hosted a television show. What the heck? But I had an idea. It started with an idea, and how do I make that happen? So I looked in my network, and I had some people that I knew at Czech, and I booked a meeting with them. I said, just an information session. I just need to learn. I've never done it. I have no idea what I'm doing, but is this even possible? Could I produce and host a television show? Who do I hire? How do you get it on the air? How does it work? Like everything. Anyway, that information session actually piqued their interest. It turned into a pitch, which it didn't mean to be, but they said, you know what, Canadian content, finance, we're interested. And the rest came to be. So it was leveraging that network that allowed me to do something I never would have been able to do had I not reached out and asked. So, you know, I do still continually suffer from overcoming some of these obstacles, especially the work-life balance. I will be the first to admit I tend to work too much, sometimes at the expense of family time or personal hobbies and or my health even. We're not perfect. It's okay to get out of balance and then rebalance. And my husband is a fantastic accountability partner, because he knows me so well, and he'll just spot. He doesn't tell me what to do, but he just says, hey, is that the right balance? You got your priorities in order? It's all I need. It's just that trigger and like, oh, great, thank you. And I adjust. So awareness is that first step to change. Think about what you want to achieve in business and in life. Identify what are the things getting in your way, what's holding you back. And ask yourself, can you change it? Can you overcome it? I know you can, but do you believe in yourself? Success is yours for the taking. Thanks for having me here today. I think we've got a few minutes for some questions.
Wow, that was fabulous. Thank you so much, Sybil. We have noted in the chat box that you are giving away 10 copies of your book, and we will be drawing names for that afterwards. If we aren't so lucky, because we do have more than 10 people in this meeting, how would we go about getting your book?
Yeah, you can either order it online at just Amazon has it. You just type in The Female Edge, Sybil Verch, and it'll come up. Or I do have some copies here, probably a cheaper price. And I could be happy to get that to you. You can just send me an email.
Okay.
Yeah, just go to, probably the best way to email me is info@thewealthylife.com.
Okay, perfect. And just one question, how would you suggest one finds a mentor?
Well, that's a great question. Definitely don't go ask someone, will you be my mentor? I think Sheryl Sandberg, that's where I got that from. But first, before you find a mentor, identify what is it you want to learn? What are you trying to accomplish? And then look on your LinkedIn profile, and even who's not on your LinkedIn profile, who has the skill set or the connections that you're looking for. Once you identify that person, reach out with just simply an initial 15-minute informational coffee session, and keep it to the 15 minutes or you're not going to get people's time, and pick their brain. Come prepared, have a few questions, see, and that's exploratory. You're going to get some information, but you're also going to see if it's a potential fit. And then you wrap up that session with, would it be okay if I reached out to you again on occasion as things come up, and just see where it goes from there. Then there's no formal structure or commitment needed, and both parties, it's very easy to get what you need.
Sounds great. Yeah, I just really enjoyed what you had to say, and resonated so much with what you said. Full disclosure, I don't actually like speaking in front of people, not even on Zoom. But you know what? It's pushing me into an uncomfortable place, and that is where we grow.
I gotta say, you're doing a fabulous job. You really, I'm not just saying that to pump your tires, but good for you.
Thank you. I also wanted to just tell a little story about my greatest mentor, which is my mom, Pat, who was an advisor, is now retired. But when she started back in the 80s, she was with a life insurance company. And when she started, her manager and his son, who was an advisor in the office, had a bet on how long she would last. And because she is so stubborn, she lasted and became a very successful advisor. So I think a few of us have stories like that. Thank you again, and great for you to be here. I know you have a busy schedule, but we so appreciate your time.